Well, it is African History Month, and in the context of this particular month, it is important for us to do a number of things. That is to remember our history, to put our history in context, and to understand the way that our history propels us into the future and the responsibilities of knowing our history. Today inside of the GBE, we get the opportunity of experiencing something that we do from time to time, which winds up relating to a number of things. Ritual, and ritual is a word that we have to learn not to be afraid of. We hear the word spiritual, and we sometimes don't recognize that the word ritual is a part of the word spirit ritual. You see, that is what you're saying when you talk about a spiritual. You're talking about a spirit ritual. When we talk sometimes about the ancestors, I'll never forget a response that a sister had one day. She said, the first time I said something about the ancestors on the air, she said, I got scared. She said, because I had been conditioned to just think about dead people and people who are dealing with the ancestors and just dealing with dead folks. And she started conjuring up a whole series of things that she recognized after a while of hearing us talk about this, that it was just part of her conditioning. She grew, as many of us have grown, in the spirit of Afrocentricity in that context. Today we have the opportunity of using our own spirituality to put forth the energy necessary to call up this beloved ancestor today. I want you to close your eyes for just a few moments. And I want you to think back in time. She escaped from slavery in 1849. And she made 19 trips back to the South to rescue more than 300 slaves who were your ancestors and my ancestors. Through the power of our spirit, through the power of our energy, let us call this beloved ancestor forth into the GBE, live at the Apollo. Let us welcome Sister Harriet Tubman.
Let my people go. Black Moses. Black Moses is what they calls me. Though I was born Harriet Ross, John Brown called me General Tubman. Though I expect most of you youngest here knows me by the name of Harriet Ross Tubman. He called me Moses because I lead, you see. See, Moses was a man that went down and bought his people out of slavery. And I reckon I've done something like that too. When I take my kin and 300 folks out of the slave states of the South and takes them on north. And when they changed the slave laws, I take them on into Canada. But there's a difference betwixt me and that Moses man, and I come back here on a celebration of your history to share some facts about my life and leave a word to you this morning. Because the difference betwixt me and that Moses man is I was a woman. Folks still arguing today, it's no woman ought to do the Lord's work. If a woman ought to handle money, if women ought to vote, women folks ought to lead. Well, I sure did. Women could bat a lash. Give the world these babies, women can lead. Lord don't care who do his work, as long as it gets done. No difference between me and that Moses man is how I got my assignment, you see. God called Moses from a burning bush. And it wasn't like that at all for me. I got my assignment when I was just a mere youngin', just like some of these babies here. And I tell y'all how it happened. Children, I was born into slavery. For y'all youngins that don't know what it means, slavery means you can't think for yourself. Slavery means that you can work in the fields, but you can't eat the crop. Slavery means that you can't love one another, or they sell you, break you apart. Heard somebody say today slavery is over. It ain't over. There are folks that are slave to clothes, slave to drugs, slave to cars or houses or whatever it is that got your mind twisted. You're still a slave. We still don't have the right today and the freedom that we fought so hard for. But I was born in a slave and I was the property of Master Brothers. Now, Master Brothers was a poor white man, and that made him meaner than most. My mama, old Rit, my daddy Ben, we worked the fields. When I was a youngin' like these babies here, I had 2 jobs, working in a big house and keeping Missy baby at night. I learned at the age of 5 years old how to keep my eyes open while I slept. Because if the baby cried, Missy take the whip from the shelf and beats me. Before I closed my eyes, I wasn't able to hold my head up because they tore the muscles in my neck from beatings. Well, so in this town, Brooktown, Maryland, we got a church, a post office, and a store. And one year, when we had corn shucking season, that's when everybody from nearby counties would come together and shuck corn, tell lies, find out the news about your kin. And basically, we had a pretty good time. But one year, Lil Willie decided he gonna each off down the road to see his gal in the next county. But what he don't know is the overseer's following him. Now, children that don't know what an overseer is, we still got them today. Some of them call them a supervisor. But they still here. They still here. The overseer worked for the master to keep us in line, but he gave chase to Lil Willie. But Lil Willie don't know. So I inched off down to the road and I cut through the shortcut as fast as I could. And I gets down in the store just in the nick of time and I said, Lil Willie, the overseer's coming. When just as I warned him, the overseer come in the door and he said to me, young'un, hold that there boy so I can taught him a lesson. And I said, I ain't doing nothing. Stay betwixt them, I did. Well, so Lil Willie inched around toward the door and the overseer's coming in the store. When he get to that door, I said, run, Lil Willie. And Lil Willie run as fast as he could. Well, that overseer got so mad because he couldn't taught him that he picked up a 2-pound weight and throwed it as hard as he could. But never even taught Lil Willie, tore his whole head in my head. And knocked me out in a deep sleep. He say I sleep from October, November, December, January. But children, it was in this deep sleep that the Lord revealed himself to me. In this deep sleep, I hear the cries of my people on the slave ships coming from Africa. In this deep sleep, I see my sisters crawling on the chain gang of the deep south because we can't keep up. In this deep sleep, I hear the mamas begging and crying, please don't sell my babies. In this deep sleep, I see a line, and every time I try to cross over, I falls off. In this deep sleep, I see soldiers gather around me in a swamp, and I don't know what it means. And then the Lord speak directly to me. He said, young'un, I want you to carry some of my babies out. Take them to freedom. How did the Lord expect me to get out of slavery, let alone carry somebody else? The Lord spoke directly to me again. He said, young'un, you don't have to be scared because I'll be with you when the time comes. And he wake me up just like that. Well, Master don't want me back in that big house. And also because I done stood up to him. He said, put that young'un in the field. I sure likes that. See, God don't show no favor. Rain on white folks, rain on black. I likes being outside in God's will. Because my dad had already taught me how to appreciate the nature and the things we had around us. I love being on God's will. My dad had taught me how to take catgut and catch a fish. Taught me how to feel on the north side of the tree and find the moss and find your direction in pitch black night. My daddy had taught me about that North Star. But children, I had commenced to praying and everything I did. I wasn't praying for me, I prayed for Master. I said, Lord, change his evil ways, Lord. Lord, help him see the light, Lord. Lord. Then I hear Master gonna sell me and the prayer ain't doing no good, so I changed it. And I said, Lord, kill him. Yeah. Master died for next planting season and I grieved something awful. But I know it was better him than me. New master wasn't much better, Doc Thompson. But he lets me hire myself out. I have to pay he to go and work for somebody else. Remember they had said I was dim-witted, that I won't work for 6 pence. Nobody ever cared what I do. They figured with the hole in my head I couldn't take care of myself. But I proved them wrong. I buy myself 2 oxen and make me a garden. I got me a little shack on the outside of the farm and I feels real proud of myself. You see, children, I had reasoned out in this here mind I had a right to two things in this life, freedom or death. I won't have one unless I have the other, because I'd fight for my freedom to the last breath, but no man was taking me alive. I worked and saved my coins, and by and by, I takes me a man, John Tubman. John Tubman. John Tubman used to throw his head back and laugh real pretty. And he had a right to, because he was free. And being that I was a slave, didn't seem to bother him no more. He said, what you gonna be free for? Who gonna take care of you? You got a hole in your head. He said, I'm dumb like old Kojo. He said, Kojo's so dumb, you tell a joke, he laughed 1 month later. Said I couldn't take care of myself. But one night, when he said he gonna tell master, I steal his shoes, and I get my gun and I let out and run. When I found out it wasn't no train after all, wasn't no underground railroad, it was just barns and attics and way stations. And folks, white and black, helping folks to escape. Finally, after 3.5 weeks out on the road in barns and attics and swamps, I get to a place and I see a man hoarding in his garden. I said, excuse me, sir, what state this shall be? And the man said, well, ma'am, this here's the state of Pennsylvania. That's free. That's free. But I don't think I like this freedom thing, because there won't nobody there to welcome me in. And I lay on the ground and I said, Lord, I don't think I want this. And the Lord said, young'un, I done told you before, I'll be with you all the time. And right there in the city of Philadelphia, I start my work, taking folks out. I hear Mr. Steele is looking for somebody, and I go down to the office. I said, Mr. Steele, I was here to help. And he said, well, Harriet, this is dangerous work. And I said, Mr. Steele, no disrespect, but I got here, didn't I? I got here. That was the first of 19 trips going in, taking folks out. And like the Moses man and the Hebrew children, the children of Africa, they scared. One night I had a party, 11 gathered around me, and I was just coming out of the sleeping sickness. And as I come out here, he talked, he say, what for is we following this here woman? Her got a hole in her head. Her can't even read or write. We should have stayed with Master. Let's turn back, and I reached for my gun. I said, dead folks can't talk. If you're tired, you keep going. If you're hungry, you keep going. If you want to taste freedom, you keep going. You go on or you die. You know something? I never lost a passenger, and I never run my train off the track. See, that Moses man can wave that little stick up there, but these children of Africa, you got to use a gun. Never had to kill nobody, but I won't take it no chances, because they was looking for a man. Sometimes black folks start telling for white folks too much. Never had to kill nobody, but I had to keep them in line. I went on into the Civil War, and I worked with the regiment that y'all call Glory. I served in the Civil War, was never paid. Found one of the founders of AME Zion. I built a home up in Albany. That's Auburn, New York. Children, I walked around on this earth for 93 years. Doesn't seem a lot. I come back here today to share these facts and leave the word to you. And the word is, God done give every one of you something to do to make this world a better place. We can't continue to wait for white folks to do nothing for us. Children here, y'all can go to school. In my time, we was beaten and burned and killed and raped if we try to read a book. Y'all can read for free now. There was things that they beat us and harmed us. You see, everybody's talking about the chosen folks. We is the chosen people. That no matter how much you've been lynched and burned and stomped and killed, we're still able to love. That's strength. I don't want our work to go out in vain, so I come back into this present time just to look at you, babies. Just to look at you and touch you and see you. To say, don't let our work go down. We sacrifice too much. And all of you have a right for education. You have a right to respect your own kind. You see, we have a problem on the other side watching this mess. It is a sin and abomination against God Almighty to worship another group other than your own. You got to like your own kind. We can sit down and worship and say other folks is better than we. Something wrong with that. That self-hate thing has passed on into the century, and we're tired of it. You are the Africans are the chosen children. Why do you think they brought us here? They brought in strength. And all of you are the descendants of all that strength. That thing of crying and waiting for folks to feed us. No, it ain't right. Because all of us by nature was blessed with that inner strength from Mother Africa. And that's what it's all about. When I see y'all going out here and don't take these monies that you earn, stop giving them to folks. Why y'all giving everybody else your money and y'all living in squalor and filth? Folks way out there somewhere living in nice houses and pretty lawns. And we walking among rats and roaches. Something's wrong with that. Something's wrong when we can't spend that time and see our loved ones that's locked up in these jails. Everybody talk about the criminal in the jail. Some of the best minds in America's in those jails. Some of the best minds. Brothers refusing to go along with the program. So the punishment was to take them out of this mainstream society. And sometimes I wonder which is worse. We got to love our own children. We got to stay with them. We got to see our folks in the institution. We see every time a black child is taken down on the street, we see it. But we can't sit and talk about it. We had to organize just like we did with the Underground Railroad. We had a plan. Black men protect black boys for whatever means necessary. You've got to protect these children because they're taking out at a fast rate. So we just wanted to share those words with you. And before we go back to the other side, I just want to say this to the children. You are the future. You are our pride and joy. I'm glad to see you. Whatever you babies have to do, make it good in school. Do your reading. Listen to your parents, because most of them ain't going to tell you wrong. Hold that thing inside, and everybody got to have some kind of God in it. I don't care what you call it. I ain't into that. You want to call it Allah, Jehovah, God, whatever. But you got to hold something in your heart that you believe in. You got to get back to the morals and principles that we originated with. It's hard for us today when everybody's scrapping and thinking about money, but y'all still spend more money than any other group on this planet. More money than anybody else, and everybody else is living better. And we're giving it back easy. Just anything. Take it. Time when I left here, I tried to fight the government to get me my money from serving in the Civil War, and I was never paid. Then off my second husband's pension, they finally decided around 1912 that they was going to give me $20 a month. A month. For me to live off of and take care of the folks I had, the old sick folks at the house. They thought I was worth only $20 after I served this country. When I got out of the war, tried to get on the train, they gave me a pass. And the folks said I couldn't sit in the seat. Said I couldn't sit there. When I refused to move, I said, I'm a veteran, I fought for this country. 3 men picked me up and threw me in the baggage car and dislocated my shoulder. Because they say, I won't worth nothing. Children, remember the words I said, but before I leave, I just want to wrap up with song, and we'll come back and talk to you. And I want y'all to join me in this song. Those that know, mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Mine eyes have seen the glory, the coming of the Lord. He is tramping out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He has loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah.
Yeah.
Glory.
Brothers and sisters, Harriet Tubman, inside the GBE, 1992. A message from a beloved ancestor. Dramatic Interpretations is described as an unforgettable experience, and I think that those of you who have the opportunity of seeing our sister today bring back the spirit of Harriet Tubman can attest to that fact. Let us welcome Gloria Lowery Tyrrell back to the GBE.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You know, I said this to you off the air, and I say it on the air. You just get better and better.
Thank you very much.
You know,
Thank you.
it's an amazing process. And each time that I see you, it is always clear to me that you don't just perform the character, you become the character.
Yes.
Talk a bit about your experience with this.
Well, I've been playing Harriet Ross Tubman Davies, actually. She was married twice. I've been playing her for 9 years, and obviously she's affected my life, my personal life, and my spiritual life. I'm now playing 9 people, and sometimes I do get caught so far off that it's hard to come back to being Gloria. In fact, last week at York College, I was Dr. Bethune, and by the time 2 hours after the show, I had all these aches in my legs. And I said, what is this? I don't have anything. But I felt 79. So, yes. It's taken a tremendous turn for the better. We see more and more people. And this year, we were all across this country from Nebraska to Indianapolis. And I must share this with the audience. I had the wonderful experience of playing Madam C.J. Walker in her theater in Indianapolis.
Oh, man.
And this woman built, the story was that she went to a movie house in 1913, and she went to go in, and they said, colors have to pay more. And her being a wealthy woman, they said, colors have to pay a quarter. And she said, I'm not paying a quarter. Well, whites pay a dime. And she came back, and she immediately called all of her advisors. She said, build me a theater. And that theater is Afrocentric. In 1913, she was so ahead of her time. You see the Sphinx on the stage and all the Afrocentricity in that theater. It's just amazing that Madam C.J. Walker, one of the wealthiest women of our time, had her sights on Africa a long time ago. And that was fantastic. But Gary, if I may at this time, I just want to do a little poem to the children.
Please.
Okay. I'm not a rapper, but this is for the children in the house. Harriet Tubman didn't take no stuff, wasn't scared of nothing neither. Didn't come in this world to be no slave. Wasn't going to stay one either. Farewell, she sang to her friends one night. She was mighty sad to leave them. But she ran away that dark, hot night, ran looking for her freedom. She ran to the woods and she ran through the woods with the slave catchers right behind her. But she kept on going till she got to the north where those mean men couldn't find her. 19 times she went back south to save 300 others. 19 times she went back south to save black sisters and brothers. Harriet Tubman didn't take no stuff, wasn't scared of nothing neither. Didn't come in this world to be no slave, and didn't stay one either.
I love it. All right. Ashe. Ashe. Ashe.
Thank you.
You know, it's an interesting situation that you are doing. And when we talk about the reality of Africa, and you mentioned Madam C.J. Walker, the idea of ancestral spirits speaking through a human personality is not a strange thought within the context of African culture.
No.
What is perhaps a stranger is that we today don't necessarily recognize that phenomenon for what it is.
And it is here. As Tubman, I think right now the biggest example that I see in a reincarnation of Harriet Tubman is none other than Sister Soldier. I just know she's Tubman. I know she's Tubman.
You know she's Tubman.
I know that's what it is. So if we let go and let those spirits enter us, we can see that the voices aren't silent. God chooses different ones of us to inhabit it. If we let go and get rid of all that crazy stuff of worrying about money and we can get to that place. And it's very comfortable because these people are still protecting us. They're still giving us information.
Yes.
They are still saying it to us, but we've been a little cloudy. So while our brain is scrambled, we don't allow them to come in. But I've just been fortunate enough to have 9. And I mean, I consider that a blessing from God. But all of us have it. Everybody in this room has something from their ancestors, whether it's a look or thought, but it's still here. And we have to maintain that. I think a lot of us, when we hear voodoo, or we hear of Yoruba, or we hear of something that's different, we are negating ourselves. That is us. That's us. We were taught a long time ago to find what plants, what herbs, what to do on a full moon. Everybody heard a story that was passed down. And we moved away from it. We started going into these sterile places called hospitals and letting people cut us up and these other things. But the natural things on the planet Earth were the things that the Africans mastered. And that's why Toussaint said nobody's going to take over Haiti. And it worked.
Right. And I mean, what a great example when you talk about the spirit of voodoo. I mean, that is the best example of it right there. History. You have, at this point, obviously have the opportunity of traveling around the country.
Yes.
You are seeing young people, older people, and so forth. What is your perspective on the understanding and the importance of history as far as how our people are assessing it at this time? Are we getting a better grasp of how important our history is?
Yes, it's happening. We just left West Palm Beach, the Kennedy compound, no less, and we were down there, and we did a reenactment, and we took a tri-rail, and we had about 350 children to do the reenactment of the Underground Railroad on the train. And when we arrived from Miami to West Palm Beach, I was just flabbergasted. There were so many people there to meet not only just Tubman or Mike Harriet, but the drums were going, and the garments, the clothing. The Midwest, you can forget it. I mean, anything. I mean, you don't even see a dashiki. The Midwest is so far behind, they were actually playing on television Sid Caesar and Imogene Coca.
Ooh.
It was way behind the time.
Cuckoo and Ali kind of stuff, right? Okay.
And I'm saying, wait a minute, this was time frame. But this coast is good as far as Afrocentricity, and I'm very proud to say, well, through ignorance, it created me a job, because if people really knew history, I wouldn't be working as much and to get around. But I do see in the schools, I see across the schools, festivals, conventions. I must give you this perspective too, Gary. The children are growing, the adults are kind of stagnated. Now, I work for some very prominent people, and I'm not going to call their name, but I was at this convention. And not only any lack of Afrocentricity, when I was in their midst, they seemed embarrassed. Not me as Tubman, but as Gloria. They thought I was weird, and I watched, these are the bourgeoisie. I mean, my people were, nothing but Rolls, okay? The Rolls and the Bentleys, and I watched the money. And as I told you before, I did another convention, and these brothers spent $57 million in 1 week. It made headlines, and they bragged on it. Black men spent $57 million on Miami Beach at the Fontainebleau Hotel. I saw them tipping little white boys with $50 bills just to pick up a bag. I was flabbergasted that our people were doing this. But this was the upper echelon, not grassroots people. But that bourgeoisie is never going to touch reality, but I'll take their money now. I mean, I'll take the money, but that's why...
You'll liberate those dead presidents from their pocket, I understand, right.
But some of the older groups have not kept up with the times of understand the importance of history. They were totally shocked of the information, even about just Madam Walker being in Indianapolis and different places. So sometimes I know it's a part of my job as well as yours to educate. And to see where we're going from here, because these children are really taking messages from us. When we complain about they want expensive sneakers, aren't they really saying that we have Louis Vuitton or whoever designer? Aren't they saying, if you can wear all of this, I want it too, the toys? So I think it's a part of all of us to have the responsibility. And many of the sisters and children are seeing this today. Believe me, in the tradition of Madam Walker, and I'm going to give you some dates before I get off. In the tradition of Madam Walker, let me just share something quickly. I have a child with sickle cell anemia, and most of you may know that. But because of his illness, I had to leave the workforce to take care of him. And I found that to be very challenging, because I have never not worked. I've been a slave all my days. And I never not worked, so I didn't know what I would do. So when I asked the divine spirits to guide me into something that I could make money from and to sustain us, well, this is what I came up with. And I must say to you, we are now being handled by a new enterprise, which I'll give you the number. And we travel most of the year. My son is now able to, I can afford those braces, I can afford whatever it was to do. The point I'm making is that I created my own job. I created the job for me. People say, well, how are you going to be an actress? Diana Ross. I said, I don't want to be Diana Ross. I want to be something of substance, and I don't want to play cute. And I'm not knocking the sister because she's a fabulous talent, but I didn't think about the beauty. I was taught, if you're willing to do something for a cause other than for yourself, then it'll work. And we have been out here 9 years, seeing millions of people. We even snatched a contract in Florida. We were chosen over Anita Baker, and I was so pleased with that, because they said they could buy a record, but they couldn't get this. So we finally kept staying at the door knocking, and going higher and higher. And I'm very proud of that. We created a job and put it into man. And there are a lot of little Gloria Lowery Tyrrells around. And I'm proud of it because if it was 15,000 sisters playing Tubman, it still wouldn't be enough.
It sounds right to me. Okay, we're running over, but let us thank our guest, Gloria Lowery Tyrrell, joining us inside of the GBE. Dramatic interpretations in the spirit of Harriet Tubman back inside of the GBE.